Today, the United States and Iran are seen as bitter rivals. Political tensions, military threats, and decades of distrust define their relationship. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, the story of the United States and Iran is a complex journey of shifting alliances, one that goes back more than a century. To understand the present, we must first look to the past. In the early 20th century, relations between the two nations were surprisingly friendly. Iran, then known as Persia, saw America not as a colonial power, but as a potential partner. It looked to the United States for help in modernizing its economy and infrastructure, hoping to counterbalance the influence of powerful empires like Britain and Russia, who had long competed for control over the region. American advisors and engineers were welcomed, and a period of quiet cooperation began to blossom. For a time, it seemed a stable and mutually beneficial partnership was on the horizon. But in 1953, everything changed. This was the turning point that would set the stage for decades of conflict. Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, made a bold move. He nationalized the country's oil industry, taking it from British control. This act of economic independence was met with fierce opposition. In a clandestine operation, Western intelligence agencies, including America's CIA, supported a coup that swiftly removed Mossadegh from power. The Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was restored to his throne with absolute authority. This single event planted deep seeds of mistrust among many Iranians toward the West. After the coup, Iran, under the Shah, became one of America's closest and most vital allies in the Middle East. The relationship deepened significantly during the Cold War. The United States poured billions of dollars in military support and economic aid into the country, transforming Iran into a regional powerhouse. The Shah's government was seen as a stable bulwark against Soviet influence. In return, the US gained a strategic partner with vast oil reserves and a key geographic position. For over 2 decades, the two nations were inseparable allies, a reality that seems almost unimaginable today. However, beneath the surface of this alliance, discontent was brewing. In 1979, years of growing opposition to the Shah's authoritarian rule and his close ties to the West erupted into a massive, nationwide revolution. The Shah was overthrown and forced into exile. In his place, the exiled cleric, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, returned to establish an Islamic republic. That is, this revolutionary new government was founded on principles that were fundamentally anti-Western and especially anti-American. Almost overnight, relations with the United States completely collapsed, turning the former allies into sworn enemies. The animosity reached a breaking point later that year. In November 1979, a group of Iranian students, enraged by the US decision to grant the exiled Shah medical treatment, stormed the American embassy in Tehran. They seized the building and took 52 American diplomats and citizens hostage. The ensuing crisis lasted for an agonizing 444 days, dominating global headlines and paralyzing American foreign policy. This traumatic event severed diplomatic ties, completely and permanently poisoned the relationship between the two countries, leaving a legacy of bitterness that persists to this day. For the decades that followed the revolution and the hostage crisis, tensions remained dangerously high. The relationship was defined by a cycle of confrontation and mistrust. The United States imposed strict economic sanctions, aiming to isolate Iran and curb its regional influence. Meanwhile, political disputes, accusations of sponsoring terrorism, and indirect military confrontations in places like Iraq and Lebanon continued to shape their hostile interactions. Each side viewed the other as a primary threat to its security and interests in the Middle East. In recent years, one issue has overshadowed all others: Iran's nuclear program. The international community, led by the United States, feared Iran was secretly developing nuclear weapons, a charge Iran has always denied. This led to years of intense diplomatic negotiations, resulting in the landmark 2015 nuclear deal. But the relief was short-lived. The subsequent withdrawal from the agreement, the reimposition of even harsher sanctions, and ongoing political maneuvering have kept the conflict simmering on the world stage, always just one step away from a major crisis. Today, the United States and Iran remain locked in one of the most complex and dangerous geopolitical rivalries in the world. From the strategic waters of the Persian Gulf to the proxy battlefields across the Middle East, their interests continue to clash. The story of America and Iran is not just about politics, sanctions, or military standoffs. It is a century-long history of friendship turned to rivalry, of alliances, betrayals, and revolutions. It's a powerful reminder of how quickly the world can change, and how the events of the past continue to shape our present and our future.